Every year, gardeners spend a small fortune on fertilizers when the best plant foods can be made for free using weeds you're pulling up. This organic fertilizer is the perfect nutrient boost for all kinds of plants around the garden. And today I'm going to demonstrate how to make not one, but 2 plant feeds in next to no time at all. Nettles, like the beautiful stand of them behind me here, are not only easy to find, they also happen to be full of nutrients. They've got extensive roots that draw up nutrients very effectively from the soil. So we can just recycle those nutrients into a fertilizer to feed the plants we want to grow. Our first job is to gather some nettles to make our plant feeds. Now, not all nettles are created equal, and for the best plant feeds, we're going to want to pick younger, fresher growth. Younger nettles, or the softer tips of more mature ones, are packed with naturally occurring growth hormones, amino acids and soluble nutrients, and these are at their most concentrated when the nettles are growing most vigorously. The very best time to pick your nettles is spring or early summer, before the nettles have started flowering. But actually late summer and autumn is quite a good time too, especially after a prolonged dry spell when a fresh load of rain will give a new burst of fresh young growth to pick, and it's really vigorous and full of the good stuff. The very best time to harvest your nettles is nice and early in the morning, while plants are still full and turgid after the cool of the night. Just try to avoid harvesting during the middle of the day when your nettles might be a bit stressed and a bit floppy as well. Now, to harvest, fiddlesticks, there we go. To harvest, some good gloves, preferably with all fingers intact so you don't get stung, and then a sharp pair of pruners or secateurs, or I'm just using scissors here. Sometimes in the spring, when there's lots of them and a carpet of them, you can just use a scythe or sickle or something just to gather them up. I like to harvest the top part of the stem like this because that's got the most nutrients and goodness in it, and then by leaving some of the stalk down below, it can re-sprout, giving you several harvests over the course of the growing season. But it's the top kind of foot or 30 centimetres or so of nettles that are the absolute best. If your nettles have started to flower like these guys here, well, they're now concentrating on producing seeds, and the stems are going to become a little tougher and more kind of fibrous with less of the concentration of the nutrients and compounds that we're after. So stuff like these guys is best avoided, but if this is all you have, well, it's better than nothing, so you can still use it. Please just avoid collecting nettles from the busy roadsides or an industrial site or anywhere that might have been sprayed with herbicides or other chemicals. Like just about anything in the garden, the quality of what goes into your feed will have a direct impact on the quality of what comes out. Jolly good stuff. Well, we've collected our nettles. All that's left to do now is turn them into a potent nettle tea or nettle liquid feed. And all you'll need to make it is simply a bucket like this with a lid and plenty of nettles, of course, and some water to cover them over. And our first job is simply to fill our bucket with our nettles. Just bung them in, no need to chop them up or anything like that. Just poke them all in and squash them down a bit. It may not smell the best while it's being brewed up, but my goodness, is this stuff rocket fuel. And then all that's left to do is to cover our nettles with water. Now, rainwater is by far the best because it's natural and it hasn't got any calcium in, so the kind of process will get underway a lot quicker. But if you've only got tap water, that's fine too. Just might take a day or two longer. And then on goes our lid. And this can be left to just do its thing now. Over the next 2 to 4 weeks, the nutrients in the nettles, such as nitrogen, potassium and trace elements, will gradually leach out into the water, infusing it with all that goodness. Do try to give it a stir from time to time just to keep things moving, and be prepared. It can be a little bit, shall we say, earthy smelling. Personally, I don't mind it. It makes you feel alive. So as you've probably guessed, this batch here is ready to go. Oh, nectar. Now let me dip this glass in and show you what we've got here. There we go, look at that. It's a really dark green, you know, getting on for black kind of liquid that's really concentrated all of those nutrients there. So the first job before we use this rather delicious liquid feed is just to strain it. I've got a couple of colander strainer things here. Don't need to be too precise. If a few bits get in, that's absolutely fine. And all of the sludgy nettle stuff that's left behind, well, that can just get thrown onto the compost heap because there's still plenty of goodness in it. And don't worry about things like roots even taking root in your compost heap. They've been wallowing in the water here for a few weeks, so it'll be properly dead by now. Well, it does smell, but I quite like it. It's sort of making mud pies kind of vibe going on here. Now this stuff, what we're left with is a beautifully concentrated feed, but it's too concentrated to put straight onto our plants. So we need to dilute it. I would say roughly 1 part of our nettle concentrate to 10 parts water, and then you're fine. So in something like this, I've just got about 1 litre of the stuff, and then I'll top it up to 10 litres with the water. If you're watering it onto younger or more delicate plants, then err on the side of caution and make it a little bit more dilute still. And then simply water it around the base of your crops every week or two during the growing season to give them a boost. Now this is such a fantastic way of recycling one of the garden's most abundant weeds into a really beautiful plant feed that vegetables, flowers and just about any plant will absolutely love. And now for our second natural organic feed. And this one's a lot less pongy than the traditional liquid feed nettle tea that we made just now. If that was like a sort of good, nutritious home-cooked meal, this one is going to be a little bit like an espresso shot. It packs a real punch. What we're going to make is a fermented plant juice, or FPJ for short. And although it starts with nettles, it works on the plants we're going to apply it to in a completely different way. What we're going to do is chop up our nettles into smaller pieces like this, and then we're going to weigh it and put equal amounts of brown sugar with it. Now, why the brown sugar, I hear you ask? Well, the point of that is that it draws out the sap from the nettles, a bit like salt does. And all that lovely liquid that comes out of the nettles is then going to ferment to give us a really beautiful concentrate, but without the pong. But unlike the nettle tea or liquid feed we just made, this isn't about applying lots of nutrients. Instead, it's about capturing the nettle's natural growth promoting compounds. So that's things like amino acids, enzymes, and plant hormones that will help the plants that we apply this to naturally and better and more effectively draw out the nutrients that are already in the soil. Once you've got your equal parts by weight of nettles and sugar, then just give everything a good massage, get your fingers in there, try and incorporate it nice and evenly. And as you can see, it eventually starts to go quite floppy quite quickly. And with that, we can fill our clean jar. Could have got twice as much in here, never mind. But once you're done, just squish it down, and then any last bits of sugar, just put it on the top there. Some people add a little bit more sugar on the top, but that should do fine. And then we're going to weigh it down with a clean, sterilised stone. I've just boiled this in a bit of water for a few minutes just to kill any bugs. There we are. And that'll sort of help to begin weighing it down so that as that sugar continues to draw more liquid, it's going to collapse down further. Now I'm going to loosely cover this, and then this is going to go somewhere just out of direct sunshine in a relatively cool environment. It's going to go indoors where it's kind of room temperature, just indoors. And then over the next 5 days to 7 days, what you're going to see is a beautiful dark liquid starting to pool at the bottom here. And then after a week, we can strain that off. So after about a week, you'll have something this kind of colour here. This has been strained off already into this lovely clean jar and labelled, and it's now ready to use. But a little goes a very long way. Now, this is something that might surprise most people. I'm going to dilute it at about 1 part of this to 500 parts water. Now that seems like madness, but this isn't technically a fertilizer per se. Think of it more like a biostimulant. It's really potent stuff. So I'm going to add for this here, which is 10 litres or about 2 gallons, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of our concentrate, and then just another touch like that, about another teaspoon. That's about 20 millilitres in total, which if you do the maths is 1 in 500. Now there's no point trying to go stronger than that because it won't be any more effective and might actually do more harm than good. Again, we're not trying to feed our plants, we're just trying to give them a gentle nudge to grow stronger, produce better roots and make better use of what nutrients are already available there. There are 2 really great ways of using a fermented plant juice, or FPJ. Now the first is as a soil drench, which is a bit of a fancy term for simply watering it on the ground just like you would any other liquid feed. Now this won't introduce much in the way of nutrients because it's so dilute, but what it will do is introduce all of those fantastic natural plant compounds that will help to better support your plants and also the microbes growing around the roots of that plant. And the second option is to use this as a foliar spray, and this is where FPJ really comes into its own. See, by spraying this directly onto the surface of the leaves, it can absorb those really small biologically active compounds through the leaf surface itself. This makes for a really very fast acting and powerfully effective way of delivering these compounds. This is great for when plants are growing really fast, or for example after a period of stress, for example transplanting, or after a period of, say, drought. There's absolutely no need to apply FPJ every time you water. Just once every week or 2 is more than enough during the growing season. Don't be tempted to make it even stronger or anything like that, because plants only really need tiny amounts of these natural compounds to be really effective. And don't think of fermented plant juice as an alternative to good gardening. Good soil, plenty of garden compost, regular watering and balanced nutrition are always going to be the foundation of strong, healthy plants. Think of FPJ as another tool in the gardener's toolbox. A great way of simply and naturally giving your plants a little bit of extra helping hand when they're growing at their hardest. And keep your knowledge growing to its full potential too, by taking advantage of the free download of the abridged version of my book, which you can get by following the link just over here, simply by signing up to our also free newsletter, delivered to your inbox with lots of seasonal ideas and inspiration to keep your green fingers and thumbs busy. Sounds good to me. I'll catch you next time.